How's the doggies? Everybody okay?
We're at home. I live in a townhouse and when they park others in daycare. So if I leave for more than a couple of hours, I'm trying to do daycare.
Yeah. Aww. All right. Questions or anything about last night? Time to think. Question. I was like working on my plan. And I apologize, my brain's a little bit mushy after the last couple weeks. But I had a vague recollection that we already went over the sequencing of teaching tips. Did we do that? Do you guys remember? Sequencing. Yeah, because I have it on the syllabus for this weekend, but when I was looking at it, I'm like, I thought we did that.
We did.
Okay, so we did.
I have it printed out, and I don't recall doing it.
Okay, all right, so we'll go over that at some point today. Okay, that was what my brain could not figure out. All right, so for today, we're going to talk a little bit about the Chinese medicine aspect of things. Make sure music is ready for our practice. Everyone seemed to like the format from last weekend when I did Sundays and sort of incorporated everything. So I'm going to do that again, as long as you guys are cool with that. And we can always go back and revisit the notes, but that saves us a lot of time. So we're going to do that. We're going to go over our tips for teaching, the heart and small intestine practice. So we'll do a nice long practice again. You guys seem to like that. And then we'll again finish with poses in the afternoon. I just want to kind of open up a discussion about this idea that we're learning about Chinese medicine. And I just want to make the distinction that just because we're learning these concepts does not mean we're actually practicing Chinese medicine, right? We're learning the concepts as they relate to yin yoga. And, really, I think the most important thing is that we're learning that there are pathways in the body, these meridian pathways, where the energy flows, where the qi flows. And by doing these different positions with the body, we're encouraging that energy flow, which potentially can help these organ pairs, right? So it's not like I'm saying to you, you have a kidney problem, you should do the kidney meridian and you're gonna be all better, right? So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, that we're doing this as yoga teachers in its relationship to yoga, but it doesn't make us Chinese medicine herbalists. And I'm sure you guys all realize that, but I just thought it was important to say that it's not like we're diagnosing people or anything like that. Okay, all right. So then, let's see, tomorrow I'm gonna go over, tomorrow I'm going to go over your assignment for your practice teach, because that'll be on the final weekend. So giving you that assignment, again, no big deal, don't get nervous. And I'm not super critical or anything like that, but we'll do a practice teach the final weekend. So if you don't have all those requirements in, we'll just hold your certificate till you finish, and then you can come pick it up from me, or I can mail it to you, or whatever, we can figure something out. All right, so let's save the tips for teaching yin for after our practice, and we'll get into talking about heart and small intestine, if that's good for you guys. All right, everyone have a chance to read over the document? Yeah, okay. So just a little refresher, where we are in our cycle, right? So we started with kidneys, water. That's our incubation period. That's our most yin time, we're the most inside. The winter, the plants are sending their energy into the roots, and the kidneys are considered the roots of the body. So it's a time of replenishing, restoration, incubation, like the seed, and it's also about potential, like the seed's potential to become what it's meant to be. So we give ourselves these incubation periods. It can really help us rejuvenate our own energy cycle as we move into the wood element. So then we're in the wood element, and we call that the rising yang energy, right? So it's starting to get a little warmer. We're moving from yin into yang, and that's the time of like, planning and visualization. Now we're breaking out of that seed and we're starting to move forward into whatever it is we want to accomplish. So the energy of wood element is this moving forward, moving out, growth, the way that we evolve throughout our lives. And so now we're in the peak yang energy. So peak yang is summer. And summer is when things have come to fruition, right? So the plant is now flowering, it's blossoming, it's becoming its most wonderful, beautiful self, right? So it went from that little seed, it went through that growth period, and now it's at its peak energy. So we went from the yin, rising yang, to peak yang, and then we start to descend again as we start tomorrow with the earth element, and then next weekend would be the metal, lung, large intestine. We start to move back toward yin. So in our natural world right now, we're past that. We're past the peak of yang. So we can feel the air is getting cooler. Things are starting to shift seasonally. Maybe you notice you're maybe a little more sleepy, or maybe your energy is a little bit different, or you maybe feel like doing different things than you did in the summertime. So that's that, sort of decreasing yang and rising yin energy is where we are now. Okay? So the main organs for the summer would be the heart and the small intestine. And they're, again, the yin and yang pairs. And it has to do with the fire element. So fire, again, is about this peak energy, right? Fire has this upward moving and purifying type of energy. It has ability to warm things up and light things up. So it really, lights us up from the inside, gives us that ability to really shine forth our full potential. The fire element can get out of balance, of course. We can have deficient or excess, just like all the others, and we'll get into that a little bit more when we're going through our practice. So that's kind of like just a little intro to it, and I'll give you more information as we go into the poses. Any questions on anything you read on the sheet before we get started? Okay, so let's go ahead and clear your mats, and we'll get ready for practice. Put the music back on. Great, so we're going to start in similar to the one we did last night, the one we called the heart bench. So today rather, we're going to use the blocks to set it up. So the one block under the shoulder blades, one block under the head, and this opens up some of that pathway of the heart meridian. So we'll begin in that position. Pathway of the heart and the small intestine are related to the arms, the shoulders, chest. And take the arms out to a T. Have room there. That starts to open up those pathways. So what do we do when we want to close off our heart space? We often cross our arms over our chest and we sort of block the world out. And we armor up around the tender organ of the heart. Around the heart itself is what's called the pericardium. And there's also a pathway to the pericardium that's pretty much the same as the heart. The pericardium is a sac of fascia around the heart that sort of serves as a doorkeeper, like the guard of the heart. And that sac around the heart protects the heart. whatever it is, emotional pain, physical pain, outside invasion. When we are stressed or even if we're sick, things in the fascia tend to tighten up. So if we're feeling a lot of emotional threat, the fascia around the heart can start to thicken and sort of keep others at bay. Right? It wants to separate, wants to keep others at arm's distance. But in order to have balance here in this heart pathway, we want it to be open. We want the energy to be flowing freely. We want there to be good chi flow through the heart space. So as you stay here and breathe, just imagine you could breathe into the center of your chest cavity, into what we call the heart space versus the physical heart, which is a little more to the left side. Just breathe into center of the heart space. Stay here a little bit longer. I'm going to share some of the initial readings here about the heart meridian. So the heart is considered the king of the organs, the house of the vital essence, and it commands all the other organs and emotions. It is also seen as the seat of the mind, so the heart mind, if you will. And it works with many organs to regulate circulation and maintain a healthy mental state. If the heart is imbalanced, all the other organs and meridians may suffer. The tongue is used in diagnosing heart imbalance. Things like speech impediments, not being able to speak clearly, said to be related to an imbalance in the heart meridian. As a source of bodily heat and circulation of the blood, if we have a pale complexion, this can also signify imbalances here. The heart meridian begins near the armpit and runs down the lower inner arm before ending at the tip of the little finger. I'm going to stay here a little longer and just give you guys a little time in the quiet. Stay for maybe about another minute or so. Have a sense of letting the back of the heart soften into the props. As the back of the heart melts downward, sense of openness. Openness in the heart center, and then all the way out through that pathway, to the armpit, through the arm, into the finger. Just a sense of the breath moving from center all the way down through that pathway. So we're gonna stay here now and just do one acupressure point. So I'm sure you do about acupuncture. So this is gonna be one in the center of the chest. And it's called Ren 17, which is Shanzong, the chest center. So it's located right in the center of the chest and is known as the influential point of qi. It is said to help regulate the heart function, relieve chest congestion, and improve emotional well-being. So in this position, you're going to start to bring, like maybe your middle finger, find the center of your chest. So this is kind of along the lines of the breast tissue. And if you dig in just a little bit to the center of your sternum, you'll feel a slight indentation in the bones. So what I want you to do is find that spot, and then you can either just press kind of like your middle couple fingers in there. Some people like to nestle their prayer hands in and then press your knuckles into it. I find I get a little more pressure if I use those 3 middle fingers.
Like between the breast tissue?
Yep, like right in the center of your sternum. So it would be kind of on the line of like the nipple area. I hate to use those words, but that's where it would be, right along the center of that. So do you need a visual? I can show you guys. Is anyone so confused? Okay, so like, you got it? So you feel like that little indentation in there? Yeah, okay, so that's where we're gonna press. And let's just hold that and breathe for a little bit longer here. And let's slowly release the point, let the arms come back out, and now just kind of tune into that place where you just pressed your fingers. The idea is we press into an acupressure point, brings all our attention and awareness there, but then when we release it, we're helping to encourage the qi flow through that area of the body. Okay, so we're going to slowly start to bend the knees if you have your legs out, and just roll a little bit to the side, take those blocks out of the way, and then come back flat on your back. So we're back into a neutral position. And then let's just be there in neutral for a moment. Out of the back bend. And then after that, neutral position, feel free if you want to windshield wiper, knee hug, do any movement. Or sometimes it's not even necessary. You can just come into a neutral position. Let's breathe in, breathe out one more time. Feel the resonance after the pose. And then we're going to roll to the side and come on up into a kneeling position. So the next one we're going to do is called quarter dog. So we have down dog, we have puppy, and then we have quarter dog. So quarter dog is one arm that we're going to be kind of stimulating. So right forearm is going to come down to the floor, left forearm reaching straight ahead, and let your head come down onto the right forearm. Now we're not back like child's pose, so the hips are not down at your heels, the hips are more up in the air. And sometimes I even like tip my sit bones a little upward. just to get more length through the lower back. And if for any reason this is a lot for you, you could feel free to use a bolster. Okay, so maybe put the bolster underneath your arm. You could do that. But if you're okay, we'll stick with the floor. Okay. Timer on. We're going to pull this one only for 2 minutes. Now, if this bothers shoulder joint, right? Because we can feel like we're hanging in that shoulder joint, you might apply a slight bit of yang energy. So if you feel like you might need to, you could press gently through your palm or your arm. Stay there for our 2 minutes. We're halfway there. The fire element being the most young and expansive of all the fire elements. And its expression is at the height of summer. The phase of the 5 elements is characteristically young in nature, where the heart organ system moves blood and chi to all the cells of our body. In the summer, the long days of warmth and sunshine encourages us to expand outward and connect in relationship to others. Take one more breath here on this side. If you're ready, go ahead and slowly come out. You might come just into a child's pose. Another pose would feel better, feel free. When you're ready, let's go ahead and come into quarter dog on the other side. Left arm comes parallel to the mat. Right arm reaches forward. Just let me know if there's any pose that's not feeling right for you. I might be able to come help you adjust it or give you a modification. And we'll start our 2 minutes side. The heart meridian offers much healing medicine. The anxiety, insomnia, and panic attacks are elixirs that are important invitations to wholeness. The restlessness, racing mind, and fuzzy heads are a healing salve that are like best friend, reminding us that all parts of ourselves are worthy of warmth and affection. We are perfect sacred beings blazing the fire of our own realization. The fire element teaches us that we always embody warmth and radiance. The heart meridian takes us on the most important inner journey that the fire element can take us. This is the inner journey of unconditional love through the archetype of the best friend. By being our own best friends, we will bring compassion to our own suffering. Through the heart meridian with unconditional friendliness, we will gently explore the way something easily hurts us, our anxiety, insomnia, restlessness, can confusion and vulnerability. The heart meridian pathway has a lot to do with what's called the primary relationship. And that primary relationship is with ourselves, the truest aspect of ourselves, right? Not what others expect of us, not the people-pleasing part of us, but the true aspect of the self. It said that we must establish that primary relationship so that we can better have relationships with others. Let's take one more breath there. You're ready, slowly coming out into whatever neutral pose you'd like to be in, might be a child's pose. You can sit up on your heels, you can do some cat-cow movement. Just tune into what feels right in your body. And that there is no right or wrong as far as the counter poses or the neutral poses. Okay, so next we're going to come into puppy. So now it's more, symmetrical version of that. So we did the single arms, so now double arms. We have some options for puppy, okay? So you could do it completely unsupported and your arms walk forward. Sometimes I like to hold the edges of the mat and let the forehead come down. Some people do chin down. It's a little more, I would say, extreme version of it. So that's one version. Or the other version, I think we've done in our intro practice, is with the elbows behind the back of the head. So I like to use the blocks and a little padding. You could also use a bolster, but I like to have it like almost a little firmer underneath. And then forehead can come between the arms behind the head. Or to go deeper, you go toward the edge of the block and bring the head to the floor. So this one's also known as melting heart pose. So you can decide you want to do version 1 or version 2. And we have another practice coming up next weekend, which is lung and large intestine. So we'll have an opportunity to do this pose again. So if you didn't do the one you like, you want to do both, we'll have the opportunity to repeat it in the next practice. Okay? So go ahead and come into your version of puppy, melting heart. And if any of those still don't feel good, you can also put a bolster under your chest. So that would be another way to go. We'll look at some different variations when we look at poses. All right. So we have paired with the heart meridian is the small intestine. So the small intestine is the yang organ and the heart is the yin organ. It is said the small intestine is responsible for receiving food during the digestion process. It's known as the minister of reception. It separates impurities from the food before passing the waste on and also said to absorb water. It should come as no surprise that it's also responsible for digestion. This meridian controls basic emotions, and Chinese equivalent of a broken heart is broken intestines. This meridian works with the pituitary gland, known as the master gland, regulating growth and the endocrine system. Imbalance here can cause emaciation and pain in the abdomen. I can attest to that because my daughter had a condition of the small intestine and she lost a whole lot of weight. It can lead to poor reasoning ability and restlessness. Now it's kind of the opposite of the heart pathway. It starts at the little finger and runs up the lower back of the arm, and then it zigzags at the back of the shoulder before ascending up the side of the neck. And at the cheek, it moves outward, ending at the front of the ear. So here we're kind of stimulating that back of the shoulder area in our puppy pose. Take one more breath. And find your way into your neutral position. Some ideas might be a child's pose. You might go flat to your belly. You might sit up on your heels. Maybe just do a little cat-cow movement. Okay, so next one is the open wing, or sometimes called the broken wing. So again, we're trying to open up this pathway through the arms and the shoulders. For this one, I like to put something at the top of the mat for the head. So you might want a blanket to use as a pillow. So we'll take the left arm out to T, and the blanket will be here for your head. The right hand comes in under your shoulder so that you can roll to your side. You might want to scoot a little bit to your right so that as you roll, you're not rolling off of your mat. I like to stay on the mat. So you can roll to your side, and then some options here. You might take this top foot, stack it. It's going to be more gentle. If you want to go further, you can take it a little behind you. Even further would be to bend the knee. And then finally, maybe you're going to wrap the top arm around your back. Okay, so those are all options. You can just simply start with the most, basic if you like. You can add on as you go. Remember to stay in your yellow light zone. Right, so if we're deficient in our fire element, we may manifest as a lack of activity, weakness, coldness, restlessness. And then excess fire can lead to overexcitement, arrogance, hard-headedness, hyperactivity, difficulty to calm down. So things like cooling bitter foods are recommended because we're balancing out the fire, right? So those green foods are considered bitter greens, scallions, lettuce, things like that. And also cooling foods are like apples, lemons, watermelons, limes. These are all things that have a cooling effect if we feel like our fire is a little out of control. So the fire gives us that excitement, right? We want that passion, that excitement, but a little too much of it, and then we're overstimulated, right? So maybe we're easily overstimulated, we get anxious, we can't settle down, we can't sleep at night. And this is all related to what's called the spirit of the heart, which is the Shen. So the Shen is the spirit of the heart that tends to leave the body if we're too overstimulated, if we're too anxious and we just can't, our minds can't settle. Shen has its home in the heart, and it comes back, returns to its home when we come into a calm, quiet state of mind. So practice for that might be just simply sitting and breathing into the heart, which we're going to do a little bit later, to invite the Shen to come back home. The Shen is the spirit of the mind and represents our consciousness. It is the basis for our humanity and the source from which all other spirits emerge. The Shen is in charge of our identity, who we present to the world, our capacity for self-awareness, but also how we view and interact with others, how we orient ourselves in the world around us. The Shen is essential for integrating our psychic and emotional life since it governs our perception, insight, ideas, and the ability to extend beyond the self, determine our values, our morality, and our wisdom. The mind is what bridges our intuition and our inspiration. It allows one to recognize their truth and their calling so they can show up in the world as their most authentic self. As I mentioned, but speech issues can be related to heart imbalances. So if we're not being authentic to ourselves, we may not be expressing ourselves outwardly in an authentic way, and that can cause a disconnect in how we speak. We're almost there. Give you guys a little bit more time. Let's take one more breath. When you're ready, slowly come back to neutral. Right, just rest on your belly. You feel like you need windshield wipers or child's pose or cat cows, feel free to move. Or maybe you just want to rest in the center. And by the way, we did a really long hold there. We did a 5-minute hold in that position. Everyone looked pretty comfortable, so I'll let you guys stay there a longer time. So just notice the after effect, the echo of the pose, the resonance within the body after opening up that pathway on the one side. When you're ready, let's go ahead and come into side 2. Right arm out to a T, left palm comes under your shoulder. You're gonna roll to your outer hip. And then decide if you want to go any farther. Okay? Decide if you feel like you want to step that foot behind you, and you may or may not want to do that right away. Something under your head, possibly wrapping that top arm around your back if that's not too much. If that sends you into red light territory, then you want to keep that arm on the floor. The heart, the Shen, origin of our mental life, the only one capable of recognizing, assessing, and truly feeling the spectrum of our emotional experiences. And although different emotions will affect the body's organs in unique ways, like we talked about liver and anger, these organs do not, quote, feel the emotion, but reflect the impact of that emotion as perceived by the heart. So the heart is like almost like what filters everything. So everything comes through the heart senses whatever it is that's not right, and then the liver is reacting in anger to whatever it is that we were exposed to. So in that sense, the Shen is referred to as the heart mind, given the old adage, the heart has its mind of its own, a ring of truth. Given the Shen's role in processing interactions with others and external stimuli, all of our senses depend on it for meaning, just like how the brain is relied on in Western medicine. So we have our five senses, and that's how we take in information. And according to these principles, the heart is processing all of that. So for this reason, the heart, the Shen, is said to be the most visible of all the spirits, evident in how we carry ourselves in public and in conversation. The sparkle or dullness in the eyes, the capacity to maintain eye contact, as well as the use of clear, logical speech, since the heart is the root of the tongue in TCM. It is the Shen that calculates appropriate behavior in order to click with others, foster mutual understanding. A Shen to Shen or heart to heart. When the Shen is vibrant, we have clear thinking and consciousness, sharp insight, self-awareness, strong sense of ourself, sound sleep, since the Shen retreats back into the heart to be housed at night. Balanced emotional reality, good judgment, flowing ideas and inspiration, eye contact during conversation, confident self-expression, compassion, and empathy. When the Shen is disturbed and the heart is affected, the person may have cloudy consciousness, poor insight, inappropriate behaviors or speech tendencies, socially awkward interactions, low self-esteem, difficulty expressing, hypervigilance and paranoia, hard time relating to others, little or no eye contact, little capacity for empathy, irrational thoughts and phobias, panic, and we mentioned disturbed sleep. So it's really, I find it really interesting because there are certain characteristics there with people on the spectrum, which my son is. And when I read that, a lot of that speaks to me. So it's really interesting because like the lack of eye contact and connection with others, those kinds of things. So yeah, maybe there's something there in that relationship. We've got about 30 more seconds here. By the way, we can go ahead and come back out to neutral when you're ready. By the way, that particular position also hits some acupressure points. When you're in neutral, I'll just kind of tell you a little bit about those. So they're on the inner line of the arm. There are heart 1, 2, and 3. I only put down heart 3 because that's they all kind of relate to each other, but Heart 3 benefits clearing heat from the heart, so excess fire. It's said to calm the mind and alleviate anxiety and emotional disturbances. So some of the poses themselves are hitting acupressure points. We don't have to like specifically hold them. We're still kind of opening them and pressurizing them in the poses themselves. So go ahead and move back into a child's pose just to kind of counter that. Just briefly. Okay, next we're moving into seal pose. Go ahead and come back onto the belly. So in seal pose, we're turning the arm open a little bit as we lift up, and that helps open up this whole area, this pathway. It also opens up what's called the kidney 27. So this one actually relates to heart. I'll talk about that in a minute. But getting into seal, we're going to be on the belly. Then we turn our palms out like seal flippers. Legs can be separated or closer together, depending on what feels right in your lower back. And then we're going to press into the floor. There's a slight young component to this because we're holding ourselves up, but we want to let the inner body kind of soften. So it looks like that melted heart. Let the spine soften in. And then either move your hands more forward or back, depending on, you know, if you want to be more gentle, you go more forward. Because the back bend is much less. You could also support with the bolster. So if you want to feel like you're not having to hold yourself up so much. So I'll give you that as an option. If you feel like it's a little too strenuous to really hold yourself in that position, you can take a supported version. So make sure you feel like your palms are turning open. So you're opening into the front of the shoulder. Okay, so that's the kidney 27 that we're opening right in the front of the shoulder. And we talked a little bit about that when we did our kidney practice. But just a reminder, it's below the collarbone, next to the breastbone, and it benefits the cardiovascular system, strengthens the chest, and promotes respiratory function. So even though it's kidney, it's still supporting the heart energy. So this one won't be quite as long of a hold since it's a little more intense, but this is from the web that has no weaver. The heart guarantees connection and stores the small spirit component of the person's entire spirit. The heart spirit ensures that whatever consciousness, intention, thought, reflection, and self-awareness exist within the large spirit intersects and clicks with the world of time and space. The heart is responsible for appropriate behavior, timely interactions, and being suitable to the context, right? So are we inappropriately behaving, acting out, those kinds of things? Or being respectful, helpful, thoughtful, or emotional is only virtuous when the heart spirit ensures that the moment is right. The heart's little spirit makes sure that the big composite spirit of a person is on target. The heart spirit guides the larger spirit into the world of manifestation. Intending to take an elderly person shopping is helpful before going shopping, not afterwards. So the heart spirit ensures the timing. Wearing a bathing suit with a towel around one's neck and the close side is fine, but not before a gathering of business people with whom you are negotiating a financial transaction. So it's about appropriateness. Figuring out the details of a money deal before going to sleep is probably also poor timing. The heart spirit ensures picking suitable places for particular actions. So in a way, it helps us discern things. Go ahead, take one more breath. And then release. It sounds like somebody's
It is.
but I'm gonna lock the door. Very fast. Just take a little moment. There is somebody in the parking lot. I see the owner of the building. Okay. Sorry, I keep flipping back and forth here between my pages. Right. So we're going to go into why we need child's pose next, and we're going to add a thread the needle component. So why child's pose? We're going to walk over to the right side, and then you may need a blanket under your head, so I'm going to grab that. You're going to thread your left arm through, and then you can bring your head to the support. You may want to do the wrapping of your top arm around your back. That might be too much, so you could just stay here. Now, if that's also all too much, you could also just do the child's pose like a side bend and not do the thread part. We're still opening up this pathway along the outer shoulder, so that is small intestine pathway, back of the shoulder. And if we do the wrap, we're also getting front of the pathway there. Also, another option is more like a general thread the needle where we're doing it in tabletop. So this is a little deeper. So as long as this is okay for you, we're going for the child's pose version. But if you'd rather not be in such a deep version, you could do it from tabletop, do like more of a traditional thread the needle. Why do child's pose with the thread, but it can sometimes be called like a twisted tadpole. So there are different names depending on the teacher. So when the heart spirit is disturbed, one has symptoms such as insomnia, anxiety, and those inappropriate, bizarre behaviors. Discomfort with situations and people often has to do with the heart, as do somatic correlates of anxiety, such as sweating, blushing, being flustered, palpitations. So think about all those things, like they all relate to heat, right? We sweat when we're too hot, we blush, that's a flush to the skin, or being flustered. So when the heart spirit is intact, one connects with propriety. The heart's brilliance manifests in the face. The tradition says that the tongue is the sprout of the heart. So our ability to choose words precisely and convey meaning well, to connect in dialogue, belongs to the heart spirit relation with the tongue. Expressing warmth through facial expression is another heart function. On a more physical level, the connection between the heart and the tongue means the pathological changes of the tongue, such as ulcers or inflammation, can often be treated by acupuncture or herbal therapy directed to the heart. Let's take one more breath. Take your time coming back through the center. Feel free to make any counter poses you like, or just be in child's pose. Take your time, and we'll come into our twisted tadpole on the other side. Wide knees. Walk over toward the left side, threading the right arm through, patting for the head if you like. Opening up back of shoulder. And then perhaps wrapping the arm around the back. Send your breath into that back of the shoulder area. The heart also rules the blood and the blood vessels, regulating the flow of blood. When the heart chi, partially related to the heartbeat, and the heart blood, which are mutually dependent on each other, are abundant and normal, our pulse will be even and regular. The heart blood is critical for treating insomnia because it is said to embrace the heart spirit and allow it to peacefully disconnect with the world. Also, short-term memory, where are the car keys kind of thought, depends on the heart's blood ability to effortlessly remember and connect gently to time and space. One cannot remember something with chi, one has to let go with the blood before the memory flows back. The heart organ moves in time frame that is a very short duration, is situational and contextual. This contrasts with the kidneys, whose trajectory marks the developmental stages in life, and the spleen and liver, whose time frame is shorter than the kidneys, but longer than the heart. So I'll move a little bit into small intestine. Rules the separation of the pure from the turbid. It receives that but the stomach has not completely decomposed and continues the process of separation and absorption. The clear part is extracted by the small intestine, sent to the spleen, and the turbid part continues downward toward the large intestine. Some impure ingested fluid is also sent to the kidneys and bladder for elimination. Disharmonies involving the small intestine may produce abdominal pain, intestinal rumblings, or bowel problems. Notice things that come up for you as you hold these postures, remembering that our fascia holds memory. Holds memory of past interactions, past traumas, past challenges, past injuries. Sometimes when we hold these yin poses that are longer duration, not only are releasing sort of that trapped chi flow, maybe releasing emotion that's lodged in the tissues. About another 15 seconds here. Take one more breath. And take your time to return to the center, moving slow motion back to a neutral position. We are going to put on our bellies next, so maybe even want to slide forward into crocodile. But child's pose might be a nice place to be temporarily. Feel free to go where it feels right for you. Okay, so this next one, have a bolster, and then a block right here. We're going to go into this position where we cross the arms in front of the chest. You can support yourself on the bolster, take your palms toward opposite sides, and you may or may not want a block under your head. Try to walk your fingers apart so you feel like you're open across the back of your shoulders. And if the block's not high enough, feel free to add a blanket on top of the block or stack up 2 blocks if you want. Yeah, okay, so yeah, this one could be a little tricky. So you could also come off the bolster. Some people like to do it supported, but you could do it this way. Then you're off the bolster. It still might be a little tricky to cross arms depending on anatomy. Does that feel better for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll give you the option. You're doing it with or without the bolster. It's up to you. If you don't like the bolster, try it without and see how that feels. So you can be just forehead right on the block and then arms are on the floor. Next more now. So in the cycle of the Chinese medicine wheel, you can think of wood feeding the fire. So each of these elements also has a relationship to each other. So fire phase is warm and inviting. The glow of the fire drives us in. The beauty of summer flowers gives pause to appreciate their blossoming. The sweetness of ripe fruit is a delight to our taste buds. The radiance and charisma to fire element imbalance is alluring. In excess, their seductive power can be almost irresistible even for fire element types themselves, who may continually seek pleasure and self-gratification in the external comforts. So it's like this, thrill-seeking type behavior. They have an ease of communicating a vision that draws others into a material world of physical pleasures and an overabundance of luxury. The wood element can feed fire in a balanced way by staying connected to an aspiration to shine their light from a place of inner radiance. To focus on cultivating self-love inside their own minds and spirits, recognizing that each living being is a perfect one-of-a-kind imprint of divine love. The balanced vision of wood element allows a stable expression of fire element, where there is an adoration and an affection for the radiant and beautiful being within. So the wood fuels the fire. So the healthy wood phase of growth and our vision, our purpose, that fuels that fire, right? We don't have that motivation, we don't have that vision, we haven't really, gone through that good wood phase. Sometimes then our fire isn't sustainable, right? There's nothing underneath it to support it. Just like the water feeds the plant, helps it grow into that wood phase, the wood now supports the fire. So we start to see the relationships between the different elements. So oftentimes, if we're in deficient fire, we've also had deficient in phases before. And take one more breath. Slowly release back maybe onto the floor, in the child's pose, movement. Now, we've been getting into some practices. We're taking some longer holds. So see how your body's feeling and adapting, accepting of these longer holds. That was another 5-minute hold. Okay, we're gonna do that pose again with the opposite arm in the front. Hopefully remember which one you had in front. Usually, I often just do right arm in front automatically. So change it up, and we'll do another 5 minutes here. So this is more about fire from the book called Between Heaven and Earth. Fire is dazzling, trembling, exciting, all embracing. Summer, the time when plants and creatures develop their fullest potential, marks the ascendance of the power of fire. Summer conjures up a sense of splendor, fulfillment, as we stretch to the limits of our capacity. A brilliant sun climbs to its zenith over full bloom magnolias amidst the hum of bees buzzing. In summer, yang is dominant, with light, warmth, activity, interactions are at their peak. Fire is expansive, radiant, outgoing, and warm, just like summer. And as the sun accelerates the life streams of the earth, the heart squeezes the living juices of the blood through the vessels, imbuing the body with mindfulness. The heart and the kidneys are like two ends of a rainbow, distinct and unfathomable, drawing between them the multicolored luminous ribbon of our being, a dimension bounded on one end by water and on the other end by fire. Fire represents the universal and enveloping space into which we grow and expand. As water determines our longevity, fire determines our breadth and our scope. Water is seed and root, fire is flower and fruit. Like Dionysus, water is associated with the subconscious primal forces of nature, whereas Apollo, the Greek god of the sun, fire symbolizes wakefulness and the development of wisdom and compassion. This relationship between water and fire is expressed by Jill Peirce in the Mystic Spiral. Situated between the poles on our journey through the spherical vortex, we see at either end our goal and source. We are pulled in both directions, since the longing for the womb has its counterpart in the passionate longing in the mystic union with the divine. So it gets into these spiritual aspects as well. So we want to stay in that womb, but we also want to just expand and come into that sort of ecstatic union, as we call it. The archetype of fire is the wizard. Fusion is the organizing principle for the wizard who seeks to imbue the mundane with the extraordinary, merging human aspirations with divine purpose. Just as fire of love unites male and female to form new life, so the wizard wields miraculous power to overcome separation by welding divergent elements into one. His excitement and enthusiasm generate the heat required for the reaction of fusion to occur. With this tremendous catalytic energy, he brings a transforming power of light, love, and awareness into the world. Enchanting and persuasive, the wizard is a natural salesman, selling not so much the product itself as the experience of possessing an instrument of magic, a veritable talisman that endows us with the power to transcend our ordinary existence. The magic, however, is in the wizard, not in the merchandise. So when the awesome barker of dreams vanishes, and the remarkable can opener that would open a whole new world becomes merely a practical device, we are not satisfied. We are not dissatisfied or disappointed. The very experience of astonishment and joy that the wizard inspires makes us glad. Using personal magnetism as the gift of expression, he can assemble a group of individuals into one body, whether as a team, a chorus, a classroom, an audience, a congregation, or a political party. The wizard gathers us up into a shared expanse of vision and feeling. Through this marriage with the hearts and minds of others, we realize the virtue of our humanness. So the archetype of the heart, being a wizard, is like this very charismatic, very like party person, very outgoing. All right, let's go ahead and come out of that when you're ready. And take any position that feels right for you. So we're going to move into a supported bridge next. We're going to grab a bolster. And we'll sit up onto the bolster. Let's put your elbow a little bit out from under you to help the lower back. And you might just be, with your feet flat. Ideally, we're either arms out to a T or overhead to open up more around that heart space area. Legs might decide they're comfortable sliding out. Or you might need to keep knees bent, might need to keep arms at your side. Okay, so hips are up on the bolster. And then again, if you feel pinchy anywhere in the lower back, you might want to keep knees bent. Aspect of the heart is that of resonance. Does something resonate with you? The heart is like that determining factor, right? The heart says, yes, that resonates with me. No, that doesn't resonate with me. being this true aspect of the self, the authentic aspect of the self, the heart knows when we're lying to ourselves, right? And that can create imbalances in this pathway. Are we being honest with ourselves about things in our lives? Are we being real and authentic to who we are and what we need? So when we finish our practice, we're going to do a little heart resonance meditation. We'll stay here for a little longer. Fire elements type people are actually often the most in touch with their emotions. The dominant organ of the heart leads them to be more vulnerable emotionally, which is why there are 3 organ systems supporting and protecting the heart system. So I mentioned one of them earlier, and that is the pericardium that protects. There's also something called the triple burner, and that's another system that protects the heart. When out of balance, the fire element people can feel easily hurt. As easily they express their joy and contentment, their hearts can become bruised when not protected. The anger, frustration, irritation, resentment of wood element are the training ground for healthy boundaries for the troubles of the heart. When anger arises, it points to a disconnection from our true values. In fire element season, we can ask ourselves, when do I feel happiest? What brings me great joy? When do I feel most alive, most free? When do I notice that I'm laughing and smiling? These things realign us with our own values and gifts during fire element season. Take one more breath. You're ready, we'll bend the knees. If you're still extended. Maybe you want to pull knees into chest, right? After opening up the front of the hip flexors, sometimes it feels nice to kind of go in that opposite direction for a little bit. Right, so then go ahead and set the feet down. We're almost done. I'm going to do one more little series here before our final rest. And this is representative of working with the triple burner. So when you're ready, we're going to come off of the bolster, roll to your side. We'll come on up into a seated position. And we're going to take a blanket. And how you roll it up might change depending on how it feels for you, but I'll give you a suggestion if you want to make it smaller, you can. So how it comes off the pile, we're going to fold the blanket in half. Make sure you kind of smooth it out, even it out. And then from the shorter edge, roll it up. And we're going to be doing 3 positions. So a triple burner are 3 aspects of the body. It relates a lot to our immune system, the radiance in the body, and this is another system that's said to protect the heart. So I'll talk to you more about it as we get into these positions. We're going to start with the back of the heart, the blanket, then we're going to go back of diaphragm, then we're going to do lower back, okay? So we'll do like a minute or 2 in each position. So sort of like we did last night. Put that blanket roll underneath the back of your heart. And then I would say you're going to probably want a block or something for your head. Okay, so then you can just take your legs out, your arms out, and we'll be there for the first position, okay? So there's an actual pathway called the triple burner. It's not like one of the major ones, so we don't often talk about them too much in yin yoga. But it originates from the tip of the ring finger by the outside corner of the nail, passes between the knuckles of the 4th and 5th fingers on the wrist, then it goes up and ascends between the 2 bones of the forearm. So our radius and the ulna, they're 2 bones, through the tip of the elbow and up the back of the arm to the shoulder. So very similar pathway to all these, the heart and small intestine. It moves toward the chest to connect with the pericardium, the upper burner, the abdomen, and the middle and lower burners. Re-emerging from the chest at the collarbone, the meridian ascends to the side of the neck and around the back of the ear. Now, the triple warmer includes the area of our chest, which we're opening now, solar plexus, which we talked a little bit last night with the chakras. So then that's when we're going to move it down to the diaphragm area. And then the middle and lower burners, which relates to like our lower abdominal organs. So it's going to go under your lower back. The role in your body is to keep the organs in these areas in balance and harmony. The triple warmer meridian is the energetic impulse that carries a coherent message to connect and influence all of our organs. So it's a connecting factor. The primary function of our triple warmer system is connection and coherence. The triple warmer meridian carries the energetic impulse through our connected tissues. So it relates to our fascia. When the ground is clear of obstruction, that energetic impulse or chi can flow freely. In yin yoga, we pull and pressurize the tissues of our body to stimulate the uninhibited flow of chi through these channels. Choosing an appropriate edge without too much pushing prevents any disruption in the flow of chi. Yet we make sure we are not complacent, apply enough tension so the chi can be redirected. We are still and softened so that the energetic impulse of chi can travel along the meridian lines housed by the connective tissue. So it's flowing through the fascia, and this triple warmer system is responsible for that flow through the system and communication between organs. Okay, so now from here, we're going to shift the blanket down so it's under the bottom ribs. You might sit up a little bit, just slide it down, and your diaphragm is right under those lower ribs. We're going to put it there and hit the second part, so this is called the middle burner. So the upper burner is more about our lungs and heart. Middle burners like our stomach, the liver area, and then the lower burner are those lower abdominal organs. So now we'll spend a little time in the second position. And this is also that system that protects the heart. The triple warmer system is the infrastructure of our connective tissue in the body that allows the energetic impulse of chi to flow through it. It is your connective tissues which are said to house your meridians. The triple warmer meridian system carries the energetic impulse through the connective tissues. It carries the coherent message of chi to connect and influence all the other organs. Therefore, you want this ground to be clear so the energetic impulse can move freely through it. When the infrastructure for your meridians is free, you can be open to refine the quality of chi that flows through your system. Then only the purest impulses will reach your heart. Acupuncture meridians are made up of channels that connect like streams through the body, going to the internal organs. Some hypothesize the network of acupressure points mirror the networks formed within the connective tissue. In the cosmos of your body, fascia binds you from every cell to every muscle to every bone, to every organ, to every nerve. Fascia connects everything else to everything in your body. There are certain currents or ribbons of tissue that transfer tension and energy, enabling movement and providing stability through the fascia. So it's really a communication system within us. Within the triple warmer infrastructure of the connective tissue and the meridian system, you want this ground to be clear with no stagnation, no blockages, so the energetic impulse can move freely through it. And this allows you to be open to the chi of what's called the Wu Wei. The Wu Wei. The Wu Wei translates as effortless effort, ease, peace, wisdom, insight, and joy. When it flows through you, there is no stagnation or blockages to this energetic impulse. So Wu Wei is spelled W-U-W-E-I, and it kind of means just this ability to go with the flow of life, like being in the Tao. And I'm going to share some stuff with you about the Tao in a little bit. The Tao Te Ching. A couple more breaths here, then we'll move on to the lower burner. Go ahead, take a nice deep breath in, let it all the way out. Now we've opened up that middle burner around the diaphragm and the stomach liver area. Now we're going to move that blanket under the lower back. And You can be like up on the blanket. You can have it like keep you in a little back bend if that feels good. You might put it underneath the low back. For some of us, that doesn't feel so good. Like I kind of like it. I've gotten used to it because it opens up my lower abdomen. And this is an area that's often closed up because of sitting. So you can try it in your lumbar and see how you feel. If that doesn't feel good, you can go up on it like your supported bridge. So then you can just repeat that. And then you probably don't need the block anymore if you put it under like more the sacrum. Okay, so you put it under the sacrum. It's still going to open up some lower abdomen. Under the lumbar, it's going to feel like a deeper back bend. Arms might go overhead, and that's going to increase that opening of the fascia in the front of the body. And then you could really breathe and feel that you do have restrictions in the fascia here. So sense what it feels like for you. So when we practice yin yoga, one thing that happens is an improved flow of qi within the meridian system that allows the energetic impulse of the triple warmer system to flow without impediment. The layers of tissues slide and glide across each other, enabling an effortless, graceful movement and free flow of life-giving fluids throughout the body. However, when we hold our body in a static position for several hours a day, for several days a week, fascial changes occur. The layers of tissues adhere to each other, and fascia becomes dense and fibrotic. Fascial restrictions can lead to blocks in the flow of lymph and blood, and remember, our blood carries the qi. So we pull and pressurize the connective tissue that houses the meridians, stimulating the movement of energy, affecting the connective tissue. The fascial tissues get misaligned because of trauma, injury, poor movement patterns, and emotional stress. The longer we practice yin yoga, the more we become inspired to refine the quality of qi in our systems. We become interested in releasing stagnations and blockages, so we can create the conditions to experience wu wei, effortless effort, where everything seemingly comes easy. Peace, wisdom, insight, compassion, healing, and joy will flow through us. And this is the energetic infrastructure of the triple warmer system and what it offers us. Great, so take a moment now and might bring the arms down, bend the knees, simply slide that blanket out of the way. And then let's finish up with any, counter poses, movements. You might do knee hugs, happy babies. We are getting ready for Shavasana in a moment. So take all the time you need before getting yourself situated into Shavasana. Feel free to have supports or to be flat on your back. So remember, sometimes we choose to be just completely flat, allowing that energy flow. Sometimes we need some support under the head or the knees. Getting settled, coming into a soft, quiet breath. Let the mind be clear, the heart mind. And as we come in to settle our external body, the internal shift happens, inviting the Shen to come back home. The more we are busy and active and just trying to burn the candle at both ends and have all the balls in the air, the Shen tends to leave. The spirit of the heart tends to wander. And when it wanders away from its spiritual home in the heart, it's restless. Can't sleep, can't calm our mind, feel anxious and unsettled. When we calm the outer form through these practices like yin yoga, maybe walking in nature, things that are just very soothing for the soul, the Shen comes back home and it allows our spirit to rest. I'm going to share a little poem that'll give you guys some quiet time. This is written by Larson Langston. Oh, what an insult to the human heart, to think it capable of breaking. As if love were such a fragile thing, like glass splintered by the weight of time. It is fierce, it is wild, willing, and indomitable. As if any force known to the spirit of man could crush this birthing star that burns within the soul unquenchable. Cast it into the chaos, into the unknown, where darkness thrives and doubt prevails. Yet still it returns with life, a force renewed, untouched by the shadows that try to claim it. For love is not a thing to break, but a flame that reshapes, glowing brighter. For every storm it survives. Oh, how they underestimate the heart, thinking pain could tear it apart, as if sorrow could steal its fire, or silence the song it dares to sing. But even in the deepest ache, it learns to pulse with a fiercer beat, stretching beyond the edges of grief, to find a rhythm where hope still lives. Toss it to the winds of despair, drown it in the floods of fear, and watch, it will rise like a phoenix, carrying the ashes of yesterday into the dawn of what's yet to come. Oh, the heart laughs at ruin, at the thought it could ever fall, as if cracks could weaken its foundation. When every fissure is a doorway to more, for in each fracture, light seeps through, filling the hollowed spaces with new dreams. For once there was only loss. Now blooms the garden of becoming. Let the weight of the world press down. Let the night stretch long and cold. Still, the heart will beat. Quiet rebellion. A soft defiance that whispers, I am unbroken. I am whole. Start to come back to awareness now. Just noticing state of your being before you move. A sense that the spirit has come home to rest. This deepest, most authentic, true part of yourself, the place that knows your truth. Take a moment and invite in small movements. Moving however you like before coming onto your side. Pause before returning into seated posture. We're going to finish with a brief little meditative exercise and a couple more acupressure points before we close our practice. To arrive seated, don't hurry. Feel free to sit up on something or against the wall. Make yourself comfortable. We'll do a couple acupressure points yet. So first one is called Heart 7. So you're gonna find your pinky finger side of your hand and go all the way to your wrist. And you're gonna press right there along the pinky finger line at your wrist and just place it in front of your heart. Let it rest there. And then just simply hold that point and breathe. This is Heart 7. So Heart 7 is known for calming the mind. So it's that heart-mind connection, reducing anxiety, promoting emotional balance, and can alleviate heart-related symptoms like palpitations and insomnia. Also good for motion sickness and memory loss. We're going to hold that one for 1 minute, and then we'll do a second point. Yeah, like right inside that little bump. Yep, good. Slowly let that go and just pause for a moment. Feel and sense the effect of that little acupressure point. The next one is pericardium 6. So the Heart 7, the one we just did, is the Shen Men, called the Spirit Gate. It's very popular, well-known acupressure point. And as is this one, this is pericardium 6. So you're gonna go 3 fingers widths up from your wrist. So 3 fingers up from your wrist, right in the center. Okay, so you just measure that. And then again, place it over your heart and breathe. I usually put my thumb there. Okay, so pericardium 6, good for chest pain, palpitations, nausea, reduces stress and anxiety, which are significant contributors to heart disease. So these are all key acupressure points for heart health. So we'll hold this one for a minute. Slowly let the point go, take a pause. And we're gonna finish with one more little finishing exercise. We're gonna be doing a little resonance, sort of a meditation or exercise. We're gonna put both hands over the heart. Take a couple breaths, tuning into the heart space, to the Shen, the heart mind within. And we're gonna take two different parts here. The first part, we're gonna tell a lie to ourselves. Like you're just gonna say it over and over and over again in your mind. A statement that is not true. Like for me, I could say, I hate teaching yoga, which is not true. So you can just like think of something that is not true. Say it over and over again in your mind. And notice the resonance in the heart. Now we'll say a second statement. This is saying a statement that is true. Notice any shifts in that resonance. Sometimes the heart feels a little more withdrawn, a little heavier, a little more closed off. When we say an untrue statement, maybe it feels a little fuller, a little more open, more excitement of that true statement. Just notice what it is for you. In this way, the heart knows, the heart resonates with that which is right for us, that which is true for us. Let the hands rest down for a moment. One more little reading and then we'll close. This is from John O'Donohue. Somewhere in every heart there is a discerning voice. This voice distrusts the status quo. It sounds out the falsity in things and encourages dissent from the images things tend to assume. It underlines the secret crevices where the surface has become strained. It advises distance and opens a new perspective through which the concealed meaning of a situation might emerge. The inner voice makes any complicity uneasy. Its intention is to keep the heart clean and clear. This voice is an inner whisper, not obvious or known to others outside. It receives little attention and is not usually highlighted among a person's qualities. Yet so much depends on that small voice. The truth of its whisper marks the line between honor and egoism, kindness and chaos. In extreme situations which have been emptied of all shelter and tenderness, that small voice whispers from somewhere beyond and encourages the heart to hold out for dignity, respect, beauty, and love. Bring palms together. Take an inhale, exhale, bow inward. Namaste. So we'll take a few minutes break. So I'm going to stop the video for a moment. So feel free to take a bathroom break, and then I'll restart it when we come back. Just like it's easier for me to upload when there's two pieces.